Hey guys, welcome back to Young Americans Abroad, your best place for weekly content on young American soccer players playing overseas. My name is Austin.
You guys know me. My name's Patrick.
And welcome to our show. So guys, welcome back to YA for 2021, Pat, and it feels so good to be out of 2020 finally.
It does. It's been a very long year. I had a great moment with my wedding there, but in general, 2020 has been very slow moving. But again, Austin, for YA here in our channel, this is the first weekly report episode of the new year, so we're excited.
Yeah, and there was some great storylines this week to cover. Not too much action, but definitely a few pieces of note. And, before we get into that, we definitely want to mention a video we put out before the new year. And that was basically on 5 players from MLS that we think could make the transfer to Europe this calendar year. So make sure to go check that video out. We want to do a few more of these shorter length videos, maybe include some other features with, other YouTubers, podcasters throughout the year. Kind of semi-regularly. So make sure you give that one a lot of love because, if you like it, we'll do some more of them. And yeah, Pat, what do we got in today's episode?
Yeah, that's right, Austin. So we have actually 2 YAs there with Premier League giants, kind of with a showdown going to head, and one of them actually getting their first Premier League start.
That's true. And we also have a player over in Italy helping his team back to winning ways.
And another player in Germany, moving back to a familiar position. So all that and more in this week's episode. Okay, guys, and the first player we're going to talk about is Christian Pulisic here. So again, Christian started and played the full 90 in a 3-1 loss to Man City. Pretty unfortunate, just in terms of where Chelsea has dropped to. I think we were talking off camera. They might be 8th or 9th at this point in the Premier League. And they have not looked so good in the last, I think, 6 games. They have only had 1 win in the league, and they've only scored 7 goals there and given up 10. So just want to throw those quick stats to you guys. And they're certainly going through a struggle there, and there's calls for Lampard's head right now and the team to figure it out. I'm sure they will. But again, just to recap this game for you guys quickly, in the first half, Christian was really, pretty much kind of neutralized and stifled, just the Chelsea attack as a whole there. Man City was fluid. They controlled the game. Cancelo and I think Rodrigo, were really strong there, tackling and winning the ball. Pulisic had some bursts there. Again, some nice turns in space. But for the most part, again, like I mentioned, they really shut down that Chelsea attack. And you can see his frustration, I think, right at the end. At the stoppage time of that first half, he did get a yellow card. So again, just kind of moving into the second half here quickly. Some more positive movement, getting by Rodri, shook him free a few times, and was able to have some key passes there, I think, to Chilwell there and Kovacic, who hasn't actually played or at least started in a while. So Frank's trying some different things there. But yeah, again, all in all, seemed very frustrated. Throwing his arms in the air. It just looked like a lot of miscommunication and players really just almost really predictable in their movements and kind of going through the motions and just outclassed in this game. But again, at the end, Austin, it was nice to see Pulisic involved in the goal there for Callum Hudson-Odoi. So again, he switched to the right wing in the last 15 or 20 minutes and played a ball to Havertz there. Who again kind of slotted it through on the ground across the field to Odoi for that goal, consolation goal, I guess you could say, in the 3-1 loss. So yeah, that was kind of the brief synopsis of the game. So what are your thoughts, Austin?
Yeah, it's been a rough period of time for Christian with Chelsea. Christian's played pretty well the past few games, but Chelsea are just not finding results at the moment. And this game was definitely a domination by Man City. But Christian, like I said, he played pretty well in this game. He was, I think, the highest rated player for Chelsea, and I believe his rating was in the 7s. I think it was like 7.2 or something on FootMob. So he's still performing well. It's just the goals are not there. The assists are not there. You know, like you said, he had that great pass to kind of set up the assist for the goal on Chelsea's lone goal for the day, but just Chelsea not really ticking.
Yeah, it's a very tough situation, Austin. I think in the post-game interview, you could see the frustration. It was all over Twitter too, and what people were talking about. Christian just said they're in that drought and that down spell. They just need to keep continuing and fighting, and they have the quality. They have all this. They spend a lot of money, so the pressure is really on. You see Lampard, taking the heat as well, and people, again, like I mentioned, saying off with Lampard's head. So I know it's a little early, but again, it is the Premier League. If you have a string of bad performances, you're in that spotlight. So I'm on that pedestal. So again, hopefully Christian, the team, can kind of pick it up. But like you said, Austin, he's the one kind of making those runs, and you can see the effort there. But it's just not connecting right now. I don't know if they need to. Again, I'm no sports psychologist or anything, but kind of sit down and hash out some things. I think they just need to, build, better relationships and get that chemistry back, because, they're all skillful and talented, but something's just not clicking right now.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Those players are very talented. Timo Werner was, I believe, what was he, the Golden Boot scorer, or maybe second to Lewandowski in the Bundesliga last season. And he really fits their style. He likes to play on the break, and it's just not really working for him right now. So that's the player that Christian should be setting up for some goals here. But I think with that, Pat, we're going to move over now to Italy and talk Weston McKennie. So Weston started again for Juventus, really just thrust himself into that starting lineup there. Played 65 minutes in their 4-1 win this weekend over Udinese. And in this game, Weston, picked up kind of where he left off the last few weeks before Christmas, playing a very good game, completed 96% of his passes, and also created one chance in this game. Was definitely more of a quiet game from him, and picked his moments where to, influence the game and kind of call for passes. But the offense didn't really run through him in this game like it has in several games previously. I think, all in all, it was a good day for Weston. Again, it was good to see Juventus and for Weston get a win. They lost to Fiorentina last time out 3-0. It was a pretty demoralizing defeat, Pat.
That's pretty lopsided.
It wasn't a good game from them by any means. But in this game, they really rebounded. Cristiano Ronaldo's honestly saved them so much this year. And that wasn't necessarily the case in this game, but when we talk about kind of where Juventus sit in the table, it's not good for them going forward. But all in all, Pat, it was a good performance from Weston again this week.
Yeah, it's just great again to see him assimilate so well and put in a tidy shift, you could say, doing the little things. And again, maybe the offense isn't flowing through him, for this game, but still involved in being a key piece and breaking up tackles, and also just helping again the team to a successful win. Like you said, Austin, they've had a challenge in Serie A, and AC Milan's playing very well, and some of the other teams are starting to really pick up because Juventus have dominated the league title for years and years, and I think everyone's getting tired of that. So interesting timing. I wouldn't even want to say unfortunate. Don't want to sound too negative with that connotation, but with Weston coming in and Juventus's kind of youth transformation, so I know it's pretty fierce for that league title, and it'll be interesting to see how it all shapes up at the end. But yeah, I agree. They can't keep relying on Cristiano, for their goals. Yeah, you said it really well, Pat. It's been definitely a year of change for Juventus. And like you said, Weston's not the only younger player they brought in. They also Right.
brought in Arthur, Chiesa from Fiorentina, Kulusevski, who was at Parma last year. So Weston's really been thrown in with some of those younger players, and he's right now swimming, using the analogy if you're thrown into a pool, which is good. But some of those other players may not be holding their weight. Cough, cough, Arthur. So anyway, that's kind of what happened with Weston this week. Like I said, Juventus sit right now in 5th in the Serie A table, and that's 10 points behind AC Milan. So
it's that big of a gap. Wow.
It is. It's crazy, Pat, right? Like it feels like, they struggled this year, but everyone's thinking they'll turn it around. But 10 points is a big gap. They do have one game in hand, so potentially they could be only 7 back when things are all even. But definitely not good.
No, yeah, certainly not good at all. And something I just wanted to bring up quick, I just remembered. I think almost when I was looking at the table in Serie A, their loss to Fiorentina there, I think might have been one of their first losses in the league. I think they had a lot of draws, to be honest, Austin.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
yeah.
but again, nonetheless, still, they're not. They should be winning a lot of those games. And again, I think it's just important for Weston and the team's development to pull it close, and hopefully he can continue to develop, because we've seen the growth and the arc over this year. Being at Schalke and to where he is now, I'm just really excited to see what 2021 has to hold for him.
Yeah, honestly, hopefully a full-time move to Juventus, which sounds like that's going to be the option that the club chooses. That would be honestly the best thing for him, even if they don't win Serie A. Obviously, they need to be Champions League too. That's another pretty big priority for them. But yeah, I think with that, Pat, I'll throw it back to you, and we'll talk about another player that played in that game against Christian Pulisic, opposite of him.
Right, some history made, Austin, for Zack Steffen. His first Premier League start. So just a few years ago, was with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds there. Found his way over, and the crew over to Germany there with Union Berlin, and all the way up to Man City. So he's had quite the trek to get his first Premier League start in a big game against Chelsea. Again, unfortunately, we all know Ederson with COVID-19, difficult there. Hoping he's for a speedy recovery, but he is in quarantine, and that's allowed some opportunity for Steffen to get in some Premier League games, outside the Carabao Cup and all those other, the FA Cup, all that stuff. So again, just to highlight this game, didn't really have too much to do overall, and a pretty controlling 3-1 Man City win, which we just recapped earlier with Christian. So I won't go into that too much detail again, but I wanted to bring up, almost, and we were talking off camera, and I don't want to compare it to this, but a Horvath-esque. I don't know if it's U.S. goalie curse right now. Slight error there where I guess Steffen, had that back pass, thought it was deflected. The ref whistled him there and kind of gave away that free kick. Luckily, nothing came of it, but still kind of a nervy moment right at the beginning there. I'm sure, didn't want to start his Premier League debut like that. But again, for the most part, did very well in distributing from then on. Pretty solid, and again, really didn't have much to do. Not much he could have done either, Austin, for that goal right at the end of the game. So, yeah, pretty solid Premier League performance. Just that one nervy moment, which will be the headlines.
Yeah, and it was 3 minutes in, and you just felt for him, like
your heart sank.
Yeah, it's just like, oh man, like really, like 3 minutes in, there's so much hype about him starting. Even Pep Guardiola had something to say about him getting on the field, had some good words for him, and 3 minutes in, he makes a pretty questionable blunder. But like you said, it didn't amount to anything, and they were able to obviously get the win, a pretty big win too, even though Chelsea are reeling at the moment. So yeah, all in all, yeah, not bad. Go on, Zach. Maybe we'll see another game from him before Ederson.
That's right. If we can see one more, yeah, go on, Zach. And again, maybe you'll have one where he saves 4, 5, 6, incredible, and it's all is forgotten there. But again, I think it was really important for him to get some game time in the Premier League. He is training and with Guardiola, but again, there's only so much growth and development you can get, just training, on the grounds there and not being a, day in and day out starter for the team. So it's nice to see him get some game time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think with that, we're going to move back over to Germany and talk about, well, actually, for the first time today, we're going to move to Germany and talk about Tyler Adams. So Tyler Adams started for RB Leipzig, played 81 minutes in their 1-0 win over Stuttgart. And Pat, it was a reverse, or I guess a reversion back to his other position of right back in this game. So that's where he played for the entirety of this game and looked really good. I think the past few games where Leipzig asked Tyler Adams to play in that position, whether for the whole game or large stretches of the game, I thought he looked pretty pedestrian. I can't recall from memory exactly what games he played right back the season for, but just remembering those performances when he did, they weren't very game changing. Obviously, it's hard to influence the game from that position, but I do think in this game he was a really calming presence on that right side for Leipzig. Really helped quell Stuttgart going forward. They have some exciting players, especially their striker, Silas Wan Gatuka. He's pretty good, and he was able to kind of get at them a few times, and also gotten, I think, a tussle or two with Tyler too. But I thought he did a good job in this game, moving forward up the field too. He really provided a good outlet for that Leipzig attack to kind of work off of in the attack, and kind of be an outlet for them when they had to go out to the wings. Obviously, Tyler Adams is a defensive player. He's not someone who's gonna really cross balls into the box with much consistency, or take shots, anything like that. They have Angelino on the left side, who has done a really good job of scoring goals this season. But that's
Man City guy.
Yeah, Man City, New York City FC guy as well. So yeah, he's really been a goal scorer for them, surprisingly, as a left back this year. But that's obviously not Tyler. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there because I think this plays Pat into a bigger point I was going to try and make, and I don't want to go on too long. But I think it's pretty. Everyone's in agreement in the pool, or everyone is in agreement in the USMNT landscape that Tyler Adams should be played as a center defensive mid. And I really, from watching this game and just thinking about that more, him playing as a right back as opposed to that CDM, I just think as good as he is defensively, he does lack some of those offensive traits that we're looking for now in a modern day fullback. And that's obviously, like I said before, getting forward and crossing the ball into the box, taking the occasional shot once in a while, taking players on 1v1. Those are three things that Tyler Adams does not really do at all. And it's not even like he's not, he does that once in a while. He doesn't do those things at all. And that's no flaw of him. That's just the way he was brought up, the positions he's played, and just the style of player he is. He's more defensive. So I think, when you talk about flipping Sergiño Dest, I've seen it on Twitter a few times this week, switching him to the left side, having Tyler play on the right side. I do think you lose some of those offensive characteristics as opposed to playing Sergiño on the right and someone like Anthony Robinson on the left, who does take players on 1v1, who does cross the ball into the box with great consistency. So that was just something that kind of stood out to me in this game. Obviously, he's probably a better defender than Anthony Robinson, but I'm just not sure if we really want to sacrifice what a player like Anthony or even Reggie Cannon can do getting forward. So What are your thoughts, Pat?
Right, and that's a good point in what you brought off, and just the trade-offs that he offered, because different scenarios, like if you're, the U.S., and I want to think long-term where, it's pending results, maybe even against teams like, Mexico, or you find yourself in the World Cup and you're playing against Germany or some of the other Brazil or some of those powerhouses, and maybe we get a early goal there, and maybe you slot Tyler just to neutralize defensively. Maybe those scenarios can call for that, but I'm in full agreement. CDM is where he needs to be. We all agree on that, but I'm just kind of interested to see in that game management, that game situation, maybe you can kind of shift over and kind of cover if we need to neutralize or hold the score in any way, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and there is some tactical nuance with playing him as a right back. And we've seen it with Greg Berhalter a few times with him and Nick Lima kind of slotting into midfield as a right back. But, it seems like that's kind of what we're moving away from, from a USMNT perspective. So if we're moving away from that, I kind of just like, playing Sergiño Dest at his best position. He's elite in what he does in that position. And, we'll see maybe Anthony Robinson rise to the top. Maybe some other players who are coming up kind of take over that left-sided position. And
right, there's almost too much quality, Austin. Almost too much quality to just even have that idea, or really consider him in that right back slot. So yeah, I don't think that's feasible at all.
Yeah. So yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. This is an age-old debate. I'm sure it's going to rage on for a few more years, Pat. But yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, let us know in the comments what you think. And yeah, so I think I'll throw it back to you, Pat, for the final player today.
That's right. And you brought his name up, slid it in a few times there. But we're talking about Sergiño Dest there. And again, just to cover his game against Barcelona, got the start there. Played 75 minutes. I think it was his 10th start in La Liga, so it's great accomplishment there. And a 1-0 win against Huesca. Much needed win for Barca. I think they've had 4 wins and 2 draws in their last La Liga games, so they're starting to get back on track after a really slow league start. But in this game, I would say all in all, again, kind of barely scraped by against Huesca. SofaScore again, takes stock in that, but they did rate Dest, pretty average. I think it was a 6.3 rating. One of the lower ones for the starters. Eventually, he was subbed out. Cohen subbed him out for a center back, which is kind of intriguing to me. I know Cohen got some criticism on Twitter and some news outlets there, so I wasn't really sure about that. But for the most part, he got in some good positions. Austin, had that flair that we've seen with him, but just kind of lacking the delivery in the product in the final third there. But it brings me to another point was, obviously he's a successful dribbler and Barca knows, what they're getting from Dest and how well he's adapted there in the league. But, with Fati out and again, Messi kind of almost, 1 foot out of the door there, still, again, attracting 2 or 3 defenders. But my point is Dest is almost very isolated up there. So when he does get in those positions, teams are honing him there and closing him down. Maybe he has to go back or force something, not get that final product in, or, if he's able to get it in there, in the box, there's not many people just attacking it. I mean, they have Martin, I'm going to butcher his last name, Braithwaite, I think it was.
Yep.
Yeah. And
yep.
Yeah, Braithwaite. And Griezmann's not really, doing well at Barca, and they're another team. I think are still playing that Barca-esque style that we saw with Xavi and all the Iniesta and players in their prime, and I just don't think they have the players right now for that in that system. And you can see Koeman tanking a little bit, but aside from Champions League, something just doesn't seem right with Barca. And again, not to Dest's fault at all, but maybe some of the reasons why he's not picking up some assists or getting involved in the final third successfully as often.
Yeah, that's really interesting and something I want to keep an eye on them for going forward. It's really interesting you say that. He's almost getting isolated because kind of the lack of, I guess, players in attack, which sounds crazy when you talk about Messi, but it's definitely been a different year for Barca. And, Dest has been really good at times. So I'm curious to see that going forward, see if that's really the case, I guess.
Yeah, and again, maybe, I'll be honest and, have to keep me honest, Austin. I haven't watched all of the Barca games here, but, what I've tuned in and seen some bright spots, like you said, from Dest. And he has had some really successful games. But, and again, it was nice. A win's a win here against Huesca. But I think it's a team where, he should be, Barca should be up 3-4 plus. Dest has 4 or 5 key passes, some crucial crosses where, hoping, he can kind of get back to that and the team can kind of get back to that as they move on. So maybe it's some tactical adjustments, kind of galvanizing the players here and some, stronger Champions League performances moving forward will help, electrify or excite them, in terms of their La Liga performances.
Yeah, let's hope. I don't know when Champions League comes back. I didn't take a look after the draw what the dates are, but I'm guessing with the condensed schedules, it's got to be pretty soon, maybe end of the month or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. I have to check that out too.
So yeah, it's been a pretty good Champions League season for him so far. I feel like he's played better in the Champions League games, but maybe that's just because I was able to actually watch all of those games and instead of being sports being pretty tough to get. But anyway, I think with that, Pat, we're going to now move over to quick kicks.
All right, everybody. I think you know what time it is. It's Austin and I's favorite time, and I really hope it's yours at this point. It's none other than Quick Kicks.
So you could test Dwayne Miller. It's Altidore over the wall, and that one is in! Josie Altidore from a long way out. The opening goal for the United States.
So to start Quick Kicks today, we have Josh Sargent, and Josh started and played 90 minutes for Bremen in their 2-0 loss to Union Berlin.
Over in Spain, Yunus Musa came on in the 75th minute, a wild game after Valencia were reduced to 10 men. They did lose 2-1, but the match finished 9v10, so few people sent off.
Yeah, that's interesting. And going back to Germany, we have Gio Reyna, who started and played 90 minutes for BBV in their big 2-0 win over Wolfsburg.
And we have Owen Odosawa there, subbed in the last 5 minutes and really missed a tough header. Really, unfortunately, a little dejected, but he's ready to move on there in a 3-3 draw versus Brighton.
Yeah, tough to see, but good to see his attitude after the game. And going back to Germany, we have Matthew Hope, who started and played 80 minutes for Schalke in their unfortunate 3-0 loss to Hertha Berlin. So good to see Matt back on the pitch, but the bad season for Schalke just continues.
Yeah, it's tough, Austin. And Reggie Cannon again, continued to start, went the distance, and Bovis' 0-0 draw there. So a clean sheet there and a point, but a team that's under relegation threat, so we'll have to watch that.
And going to some transfer rumors real quick, we have Mark McKenzie, who is rumored to be moving to Genk for a little over $5 million from the Philadelphia Union in MLS. So congrats to Mark. Deal sounds pretty official, but just waiting for it to be officially confirmed.
Right, Austin. And again, some other news here from MLS with Brian Reynolds' situation. So, it looks like he will, looks like Juventus is in sight there, and he will potentially be loaned to, Cagliari has been rumored for 6 months, and the fee looks to be, around in excess of 10 million. So I think that would, all said and done, would be one of the biggest ones out of MLS, which is exciting.
Yeah, if it is more than 10 million, it beats Josie Altidore's record of 8 million for an American player sold out of MLS. But yeah, like you said, Pat, not truly confirmed yet. Fabrizio Romano, the big-time soccer agent, I guess, Italian soccer agent, says nothing is final. So, that's our best guess right now, I would say. But going to another player who's moving, but already signed a deal last year, and that's Joe Scally. So Joe will be moving to Gladbach after turning 18 on December 31st. And it sounds like he'll train with the first team for this whole spring period, but will be playing mainly with the reserve team, their U23 team there. And he may have a chance to break into that first team later on in the spring. Obviously, it depends on what happens with COVID, things like that. But it sounds like they really highly rate Joe. And we'll have to keep you guys updated on what happens with him.
That's awesome, Austin. And Sebastian Soto, goal-scoring machine there, subbed on in the final, I think, 25 or 28 minutes for Telstar and scored a goal, his 9th there in a 5-2 win. So we'll kind of see. Maybe Norwich is, got their eyes back on him and want to bring him back, maybe.
Yeah, that's what the rumors sound like. And Julian Green played 90 minutes, and scored a goal for Greuther Fürth in their 2-1 win over FC St. Pauli.
And our boy Shaq Moore over with Tenerife there picked up an assist in a 1-0 win. So it's great to see Shaq get an assist and make an impact.
And finally, Leon Flack subbed on and played the final 12 minutes for FC St. Pauli in that same game. And he scored a great goal from deep. Really, really awesome rocket of a goal. And that was in their 1-2 loss to Greuther Fürth. So that's all for our show today, guys. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel down below.
And don't forget to check out Instagram, Twitter. We're always putting up that quality content for you guys.
And we also have the show in podcast form. So go check out Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Leave us a review and subscribe to our show there.
And also, we want to hear from you guys, our subscribers and the YA viewers. We did put out that MLS, transfer to Europe video there. Try to provide you some different content, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 videos a month, aside from the weekly soccer reports. We know how you guys love that, but just some additional content there to, talk about the landscape of the USMNT, potential rosters, with the Olympics qualifying coming up. some different storylines. We want to give you an all-encompassing body here of work.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better, Pat. We may look to do some interviews with some other podcasters, YouTubers, things like that, personalities. So maybe even players. So yeah, make sure, like Pat said, leave your suggestions down below of this video. And yeah, I think with that, Pat, there's only one thing left to be said, and that is one day we will win the World Cup.